This past Sunday, April the 14th, the third annual Winnipeg Baroque Festival kicked off. Founded in 2022, this momentous festival has proven to be a highlight of the month of April and the spring season. It has truly proven to be a glorious way to fanfare in the warm Winnipeg spring weather. As part of the festival, this Friday, April 19th at 7:30 at All Saints Anglican Church, there will be a concert held called Ascension Vespers. The concert will feature the music of Bach and Buxtehude and will also showcase the magnificent choir at All Saints Anglican Church. And joining me here in the Classic 107 studio to talk about the Ascension Vespers concert, I am joined by Dr. Dietrich Bartel, who is the Minister of Music at All Saints Anglican and who is also the conductor for this concert. Hi, Dietrich. Nice to have you here.
Hi, it's good to be here.
Before we get to the concert, I want to talk about you and the choir. From what I understand, you've been at All Saints for some time now. When did you start working there? And can you talk about how the music program has changed during your tenure at All Saints?
I started back in 1996, and at the time, there wasn't a choir anymore, and so it was at first a time of building, and we moved from a men and boys choir to a mixed choir.
Okay,
and I was fortunate to have some wonderful people join the choir, and after not even 10 years, I think we placed second in the CBC. National choral competition.
Wow.
So it ended up being a wonderful group, and it still is.
Oh, that's great. Can you talk about the choir? How many members are there, and when do you rehearse?
We have between around 20 members. It's a fairly flexible schedule because, people are busy.
Yep.
And so we rehearse regularly Thursday evenings. We sing every Sunday and also do even songs and so on and some special music. It's just a great group to work with.
Oh, man. Fantastic. And now I want to just turn to the concert. The two big works on the program are the Bach Ascension Oratorio and the Buxtehude Magnificat. What made you decide to pick these two works that are on the program?
Well, since I started, I might just background this slightly with I've worked in Germany and in churches there, in the Lutheran churches, and have come to love cantatas, and particularly doing cantatas in their liturgical context. And so over the years, we've done a number of Bach cantatas and smaller oratorios. Bach wrote a couple of small oratorios. Last year, we did the Easter oratorio, and so we thought it's again time to do the Ascension oratorio. In the context of roughly in the context of a Vespers service, but it'll be more of a probably a little bit more in a, well, Buxtehude would have called it an Abendmusiken.
So did you reach out to the Winnipeg Baroque Festival, or did you purposely plan this for the Baroque Festival?
It was a combination of that. We had planned to do this. Next year, we're doing the Buxtehude Membra Jesu, and that's part of our Good Friday thing, and it'll probably also be in the context. So it was a choice we made, and then together with the festival came up with a suitable date.
Oh, perfect. The Bach Magnificat, the Ascension Oratorio, makes use of a very festive orchestra. There's trumpets and SATB vocal soloists. Can you talk a little bit about the vocal soloists that are going to be performing on Friday night?
They're from our choir. Now, with one exception, the evangelist Nolan Kaler will sing that. Nolan is a good friend and former student, and love to work with him. And otherwise, the soloists are from the choir.
And the evangelist is sung by a tenor, right?
Yes, yes.
And what are you doing for an orchestra, or are you going to be playing the role of the orchestra at the organ?
No, we will be hiring the orchestra. And over the years, I've had the privilege to work with many very fine musicians. in the city, and so we put a group of wonderful musicians together, and it's always a great joy to work with them.
So you have trumpets, winds,
Yes, and
full
right now one of my
majesty.
jobs is to make sure the timpani are in place and
Yeah.
to get them into the church as well. So. Yeah.
Excellent. There's a very specific structure to the Ascension Oratorio. Can you talk about how the oratorio is structured a bit? There's 11 sections, and there's 2 parts. What do the 2 parts represent?
Well, Bach frequently divided his cantatas, and this oratorio would have been done on Ascension Day. So Bach very frequently divides the cantata into 2 parts, and the 1-hour sermon would go in the middle of it. And so in this case, in this specific case, the first half of the oratorio reflects a bit more the sorrow of basically saying goodbye to Jesus, and the second part then is more joyful and comes to terms with that. Although the oratorio begins with a wonderful, joyful opening chorus.
And the text, from what I understand, comes from the books of Mark, Luke, and the Acts of the Apostles. Is that right?
Yes, he puts these various stories together because some of the Gospels are very, very brief in their description of the Ascension.
There seems to be a significance to the chorale that ends part 1. It's like the oratorio is literally built around it. You get the first 5 sections, and then this chorale, and then you get the second 5 sections. Can you talk about that chorale a bit and its significance?
Well, this chorale is sort of a comforting chorale for those left behind, and it's interesting that it is actually set very low. It does not make use of the trumpets and the timpani, and is this sort of a comforting reflection on the presence of Christ remaining with the disciples, whereas the final chorale is this great jubilation of joy of the Ascension.
Bach makes use of the choir in the opening chorus and the 2 chorales that end part 1 and part 2. It's just fantastic. But one of the things when I was listening to it and prepping for the interview is there's that beautiful soprano aria that ends at the end of part 2. There's no bass line. That element carries some meaning. Can you talk about that a bit?
That's really quite extraordinary. So the understanding is that it reflects basically Bach having, some say the king has left the room. Yeah, it's Bach having left the earth, so feet are no longer grounded, and so it's quite an extraordinary piece in this wonderful lilting sound, but underneath it's the violin unisono, like the unison violins, really take the part of function sort of as the bass line, but the bass line is basically gone. So the feet are off the ground.
And the soprano aria is just
it's absolutely beautiful.
It's gorgeous. The other big work on the program is the Buxtehude Magnificat. I was reading a CD booklet about this, and I hope I have the right one, but it said the music is attributed to Buxtehude, but there is some question as to whether or not he actually wrote it. Is that right? Do you agree with that?
Yes, I think even saying it's attributed to Buxtehude is probably a bit of a selling point. I noticed that the latest edition, I think it's Bärenreiter, still publishes it as a Buxtehude piece, but then in the foreword says it's actually not by Buxtehude. Yeah. So it's much easier to sell something with Buxtehude's name than just simply saying it's anonymous. But it is a wonderful piece, and it comes out of that Buxtehude late 17th century circle. Bruno Grusnik is one of the musicologists who has been working on this, looking at the sources and looking at the paper that was used for them as well as the handwriting, basically puts the Magnificat in the area of Leipzig, that it was composed there in the late 17th century. It's a very fine piece.
Yeah.
It's just lovely. Um,
The fact that he was an organist, would that play a role in the
Well, yes, that is also significant. A Magnificat would have been, the Magnificat is the canticle for Vespers, or in the Anglican churches for evensong, and that music, the setting of liturgical pieces like that would have been the job of the cantor and not the job of the organist.
Right.
So for in Lübeck, it would have been the cantor writing Magnificats and not the organist. Now, the fact is, Buxtehude was much more famous than the cantor, and it was. He was doing these wonderful concerts, these Abendmusiken that famously Bach traveled the 400
and what odd kilometers.
To listen to Buxtehude. But the music there wouldn't have, those were all sort of special compositions, not liturgical ones as such. Yeah. So that's another reason that it's not likely that Buxtehude would have written that for the Lübeck church.
But it's a great piece, and it's short. It's like 9 minutes or something, but it is just fantastic. What do you love about it?
Well, in a way, the division, it's lovely how he alternates with the choir and the groups of soloists. Interestingly, just last fall we did the Purcell Te Deum, which also alternates choir and groups of soloists in a similar, but of course very English way. The streams, for instance, of parallel thirds running through the piece, it's just a lovely setting, and then there's the odd, quite dramatic solo bit that he has in there. Whoever the composer was, but it's just a very delightful piece.
Fantastic. So you've got the Bach Ascension Oratorio and the Buxtehude Magnificat on the program. Is the choir going to be performing any shorter pieces to round out the concert, or is it just going to be those two?
No, we don't want to. We don't want to get it too long. No 1 hour sermons and that sort of thing, although I will be saying a few things about the pieces. We'll start the piece in a typically, the program in a typically a Lutheran way. There will be a big chorale prelude and alternating then congregation or audience, if you like, and organ in one of the glorious Bach chorale settings.
Right.
Christ is arisen, Christ ist erstanden, and the chorale prelude that goes along with it, and then we'll also end with a audience or congregation chorale at the end.
Excellent. The concert takes place at All Saints Anglican, which is just kitty corner to the legislative grounds, right?
Yes.
How much are tickets, and where can people get them?
Well, in this case, we are just it's pay what you can. We're looking for donations to cover the cost. But there are tickets available for the other wonderful concerts that are taking place. There is there's ample seating at All Saints. So there'll be room for everybody wanting to come. And I might just say that we're so grateful for Canada Life for opening up their parking lot for concert goers. So you can park right across the street.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, it's a beautiful space inside the sanctuary at All Saints. Dietrich, this has just been so great to have you here talking about the Ascension Vespers concert this Friday night at 7:30 at All Saints Anglican Church. I'm sure it is going to be just terrific. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much.
Talking to me today.